Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Louis Van Amstel Podcast with me, Louis. I want to talk about dancers. Since I am one, I've had a lovely career, an amazing career, and I want to talk about young generation dancers that want to make dance a career, but also parents, if you're watching or listening, you are part of it too. So it sounds like I am going the negative route because I'm going to talk about why many dancers don't have a career in dance, or they might be great technical dancers, but they might not have an actual career because they somehow don't resonate with the audiences. And for example, take So You Think You Can Dance. What a wonderful show. Being part of it, choreographed for many years. Amazing. Love that show. And I am so happy that it's still on the air right now. Dance with the Stars, another show all about dance. I've been part of that for 11 years, off and on, between season 1 and the season on Disney Plus 2 seasons ago. So why, if you look at the history of dancers in the last 100 years, what are the names that come to mind 100 years ago all the way to now? I can tell you right now, if I ask 100 people, which dancers do they know? Is it anyone from So You Think You Can Dance? Dancer with the Stars? World of Dance? No. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And here is why, in my opinion. These two dancers in the late 20s started making movies and used dance as the medium. Now remember 1928, the big crash affected millions of people that were now emotionally so distraught, not knowing what their future would hold. And here are these two dancers, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and I could add Gene Kelly to that name, Sid Charisse, but the most famous ones, I would say, are Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. So what did they do? If you look at the movies now, they were not the best dancers. They couldn't even do 2 pirouettes. I don't think I've ever seen double pirouette from Fred or Ginger, and yet they are the most famous people in the world when it comes to dance, still today. Now, what did they offer? Their emotional selves. They just had such a personality that resonated with the audiences. They did just enough to share that relationship between the two of them that the audience just fell in love with and took them away from their personal negative space. Now, here is where I am so proud of Dancing with the Stars, because I believe that's the modern version, the modern show, TV show, reality show of all the Fred and Ginger movies. Why do you love Dancing with the Stars so much? Do you see the absolute best dancing? Do you see all of the pro dancers being world champion? And no. But what do they have? Personalities that resonate. And it takes you, the audience, away from your daily grind. Whether it is short-term, long-term negativity, something happened that affected you in a way, that show takes you out of that for those 2 hours on Monday nights. Last season, it was on Tuesday nights. So I hope you understand that what is so important as a dancer is that your personality shines, that you have something to say. What is your personal contribution as dancer to material that you are given, that you have learned throughout the years? What do you add? When we do pas de bourrée, we do 3-step turns, we do grapevines, we do all these basic steps. But what sets one dancer apart from another It's what you contribute. So it's not just your personal personality, it's also your professional choices you make on what are you contributing on an emotional level, on a mental level, on a physical level. What kind of twist do you give to material that's already out there? Done for years. So here is my problem with the younger generation dancers. The word shortcut comes to mind. Too much social media comes to mind. Why? So, because there's so much social media, there are so many videos out there. So young dancers, they can just copy all the videos, the dances, and say, hey, he so-and-so does 3 pirouettes. Well, I'm going to do 4. Which is great from a competitive point of view, but from an artistic point of view, if you only do what you're told, or not even told, you're copying it from videos, that means a copy is never going to be unique, because she'll always be a copy. So it's great to get inspiration from videos, but please, you have to go inside and wonder, what am I going to contribute to what I've just taken from a video? Otherwise, you'll just be a copy. Now, also, when you go to class, it's not just about physical skill. So when you look at shows like So You Think You Can Dance, and somewhat Dancing with the Stars too, but specifically So You Think You Can Dance, you see skill executed by these dancers that I wouldn't be on the same stage with those dancers, because they'll outshine me, I mean, times 10. Or even Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, who couldn't do 2 pirouettes, and yet still the most famous dancers in the world. And they've been gone for a long time, to another planet or something. And so technically skilled dancers is great. So always work on your skill. And yes, it's great if you can do 10 pirouettes on one foot and then land with a smile on your face. Great. But what are you contributing in between the skill? The skill is not the only part that makes you a dancer. It's what you do with the material, how you personify it, how you contribute your personality or your unique intention to that movement. That is what's going to make you memorable, unique, different from everyone else. And if you look at the auditions on shows like So You Think You Can Dance, you even see the judges not always choosing the best skilled dancer because they lack the personality, the expression. And not just in a TV show, they need dancers that can actually relate and connect with their audiences. But in the ballroom dance industry, it's the same thing. We see the people in front of us. And if we don't connect with our audiences, they won't scream for us. They won't connect and applaud us. We have to give something that is not yet seen until you make it visible. Let's talk about that one. So when you're executing your physical self, all the physical movements, your technical skill is at 100%, and yet it leaves many people cold. Why? Is because you're not contributing. You're mentally, you have to make choices. How do you want to do something? Emotionally, you have to experience, you have to emote these movements, and you have to do that intentionally. Once you do that, that's when you have a chance to connect to your audience, and therefore you leave something behind. I myself, if I take my own career as an example, as a young amateur at the age of 18 at Blackpool, our biggest competition, I truly believe that we made the final with the support of the audience. 3,000 people screaming, standing up, giving us standing ovations in the semi-final. and applauding. What does that do? So we are affecting the audience. The audience loudness or the eruption of their, I guess, excitement for us because we gave something to them. Now it created the attention from the judges. Now they have to look at us. And luckily, they put us in the final and we became second. I truly believe it was a lot of support from the audiences. So when you look at Dancing with the Stars or So You Think You Can Dance and your personal favorite dancer doesn't or gets voted off, wonder why. Is there a disconnect between the dancer and the audience? And 99% of the time it's the disconnect because the dancer is only portraying their physical execution and their skill, which is great. It's just one side of being a fantastic dancer. So, dancers, when you are now young and look to dance as a career or an opportunity to go on TV, make sure you don't just work on your skill itself. It's important because it is still amazing if you see dancers execute skill like no one has ever done before. That is still fantastic. So I'm not saying take that away, but it might not win you the competition if you are competing. What you need to do is dig inside your own self. And every time you learn something new, what are you contributing? So mentally, if you do, we have a figure called Alamana, which is always turning to the right. Well, what if you decide to do this Alamana in reverse? Now, is that easy to do? I don't know, I've never tried it. But as a young dancer, you could try and execute something in a different jacket, in a different way, in a different perspective. I have an example, it's a weird one. A yard, take a yard, and what do we put? Planters, pots. I'm actually working on my own yard right now. So that example came to mind. So planters go in the yard or pots go in the yard. Well, and then there was this person that decided to take a toilet bowl, put it in a yard on the diagonal, put dirt in it and soil and put flowers in it. And it looked beautiful. Now, you could argue, who puts a toilet bowl in the yard and then make it function as a planter or a pot or a vase? Well, I think it's brilliant. I think it is such a piece that whoever comes to that backyard, it will be talked about. So as dancers, what can you do to stand out from the inside out? Now, can you dress uniquely? Yeah, you can. It will help. It will support. But that's still outside in. We want it from the inside out. If you want to have a full dance career and it won't burn you out, then make sure that you dwell on a thought. You start arguing with yourself. Well, why would I do it this way? Why would I not do it that way? So I hope this all makes sense for you younger dancers that want dance as a career. You won't get any of that process from watching a video and copying a video on social media. You have to go inside. So coaches and teachers, please do the same. Don't just teach skill. You have to make them think and wonder, explore about the material that you give them, and now let them take the responsibility. Well, how can you make that different? And make that a workshop. That's how my coach Louis Van Amstel did with us. You think that this all came out of left field? No, it did not. So I luckily had a coach that was very pushy, very intelligent, but also very well-rounded. And he told us, you're not just a dancer. You're also a choreographer because you're executing your dances. that might have been choreographed by him, but we're still executing it. So we have to understand the why. We have to understand, is this really what I want to do? Because it was given to us by our coach. And 90% in the beginning, we did exactly what we're told. But then as we became better as choreographers, directors of our own destiny, all that made us better. So now we started questioning new choreographies, and we started tweaking it. Not because of this, for the sake of tweaking, it was because we started thinking about it. Well, maybe I don't want to do it that way. Maybe I don't want to go up. Maybe I want to go down. Or maybe I want to spin the other way to make a better connection to the next part. You see where I'm going? Dancers, coaches, parents, you have to allow for exploration. And yes, there is no shortcut there. You have to go through that process. But let me tell you, when you do go through that process, that seems lengthy, difficult. When you go through it once, twice, 3 times, it becomes not only easier, you feel more successful as a dancer, that you can talk about choreography. You can contribute when there are conversations about choreography. You might become a fantastic choreographer after you finish your dance career. I feel so great that my coach, Louis Van Amstel, pushed us with choreographical principles, workshops about it. We worked with linguistics, with writers that gave us perspective of how you write a book. Well, how do you create a choreography? And we talked about the similarities. Now, if I wouldn't have pushed or have done those workshops and all these years of that training outside of our dance training, I don't think I would sit here as calm and confident and successful from the inside out. It was because I was pushed. I was challenged. I was told so many times, there are no shortcuts if you want a full career. So that's not just becoming a world champion. It is after the world champion. What are your options? And because of that, I can personally say I have choreographed my own Broadway show in June of 2022 called Latin Fusion. Then choreographed another one called Latin Revolution here in Salt Lake City in 2004. Then was asked to choreograph and co-direct the Dancing with the Stars stadium tours, 3 out of the 4 they did. Then I choreographed Ballroom with the Twist for another producer while I was not on Dancing with the Stars. That all happened because I was pushed as a young dancer, no shortcuts, put in the work, not just as dancer, but also choreography, directing. It all helps you become the better dancer, and later in life your options are endless. I did not like that I was being pushed at a 16, 17, and 18-year-old. I was still going through puberty. I was a teenager. I fought it. But now I'm here having my own kids. As a parent, now I have to pull back because I cannot push my child so hard that I burn him out. So this one is for you parents or grandparents. You can be excited about your child's future as a dancer. You can have all the money in the world that you can support your child in dance. But let me tell you, there is a limit, and it's a balancing act. You can remind your child or children to practice, to remind them, hey, we had this conversation. You say, hey, you want to audition for So You Think You Can Dance, make the top 10. Or as a ballroom dancer, you want to make it on Dance with the Stars, or you want to be a national or world champion. If that conversation is clear and your child wants to be that, of course they need to practice. We practiced 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then all the traveling we did to all the competitions worldwide. But if you get pushed too hard as a teenager, you start forgetting the reason why you started in the first place, the love for dance. And if passion was a candle and the candle is about to burn out, all those years of passion, of training because you want to, will become, I have to. Do I have to? Do I really have to go now? I don't want to go. It goes from there to, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I shared with you in another podcast, 1992 was that for me, being third in the world. And I felt burned out. I felt pushed. I felt controlled. I didn't do it anymore because I loved it. I did it because I had to. And as a teenager, you do not want to feel that way. And I get it. The younger generation so quickly is, oh no, I need a day off. Oh, I need this. I need a mental day. I need... So I am biting my tongue many, many times as a coach or as a father, but as parents, we have to make sure that we ask our children, how are you doing? Are you still enjoying this? You can have the hard conversations, but you have to balance it, not just push, 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 because they will burn out. In our ballroom industry, I see world champions at the age of 9 or 10 in the junior or the juvenile division, and then again in the junior division. So oftentimes the juvenile age category 6 to 12, they have world champions, and then 12 to 16, they have world champions, 16 to 18, they have world champions, 18 to 21, and then from 21 on, it's amateur. So I would say 70% of the juvenile world champions and then the junior world champions are gone with the wind by their 18th birthday. Why? Because it becomes a chore. It becomes, you forget why you loved to dance in the first place. We cannot burn the passion of our children for the sake of their career. So I blame shortcuts. I blame parents and coaches, but mostly parents. Because as adults, we know what it took to get where we are, and we don't want to enforce our discipline on our children. And oh, I'm guilty of it too. I'm working on it to find that right balance. But I also don't want my child to come back to me as an adult and saying, I wish you would have pushed me a little bit more. Oftentimes it's the other way around though. They burn out because they felt too pushed. So it's a balancing act. So parents, no shortcuts. Let's not do this quickly. Let's go. Let's do it now. Yes, what you should do now is a well-balanced schedule for practice, a well-scheduled amount of classes, not too many. And I can't tell you what's too much, because really the passion of the dancer should drive the train, not the money of the parents and the will of the parents, or the reputation the coach has who creates multiple world champions. It should be the passion of the child. So, when you go through dance holistically, physically, mentally, emotionally, that process should start from day one. If a child is 3 or 4 or 5 years old, it doesn't matter. They might not understand it yet. But you as coach, you as parent, you have eyes. You can see if the child has such exuberance energy, then don't contain it. Direct it. Don't stop it. Don't make it less. Don't make this person, oh, contain yourself, contain yourself. No, don't ever. Direct it. Let the child learn how to direct that energy. That's why, on a side note, I was diagnosed with, I think it was ADHD, ADD. I always confuse these two because I think they're very similar. It is somehow you have too much energy and you don't know what to do with it. And the doctors mostly prescribe pills to calm you down. Well, my doctor didn't. And I am grateful that he didn't, because I directed it into four sports. So I'm grateful for my parents and my doctor when I was young that they pushed me to do sports. And it didn't matter what sport they let me do. So it was swimming, it was tennis, skiing, and then later when I would turn 10, it became dance. So if you have a child with ADHD or ADD, whatever that is, or a child that just purely has so much energy, don't try to contain it. Direct it. Go to dance class. Go to different dance class. Maybe if they're a ballet dancer, maybe they should do ballroom and lots of jive, lots of quick step. Let that energy out. Or maybe hip hop. If they're so controlled and contrived in their movement, let them do something of the opposite kind. Lindy hop, hip hop. Let them free their spirit and then direct it. And work together with your coach. Don't tell them what to do, or don't stay away completely. Oh no, the coach got it. The coach has it under control. No, it's teamwork. And that's how I want to finish this podcast. No child, no dancer will have a full career if you don't have a team around you that you trust, that you can talk to, that you can share. I don't feel right. I feel burned out, but I don't want to stop. What can I do? You need that person in your life, whether that is you as the parent or dancer, you have that best friend that listens. It happened to be my first teacher who owned the dance studio where I taught. Marcella is her name. She was that person for me. And she gave me that strength to consider having a break from a ballroom dance career. No one else I felt safe enough, but she was that person for me. And you all want to have your Marcella, the person you can talk to when things are not right. Or things that are going well, but you just don't want to share it with the world, but you want to share it with that person. And also, parents, when you find that balance of supporting your child, pushing lightly if they are not using their discipline. I get it. I have a teenager. But if you find that balance, believe me, your dancer child or children will make you part of that team. And there's no better feeling as parent or grandparent that you feel part of that circle of your own child during the teenage years, because normally teenagers do not like their parents. Well, I personally made it my goal that I don't want to be that parent. I want to be that parent that my child, whether it's a dancer or a tennis player or a skier, that he would come to me and that he feels safe enough that he can talk. I can talk actually in plural. They feel safe enough that Johnny and Danny can talk to me. But as a dancer, if your child or children dance, they want to feel supported. And when they're down, you're not there to rub it in. You're there to get them out of that by being positive, by being supportive. And when they don't want to do it, you have a conversation too. And it might be hard. And they might fight you on it a little bit. But consistency is key. So when you find that balance, find the consistency and stay consistent. Because if you give in, oh, if you don't want to do it now, okay, then you don't do it. No. It is not okay if you don't want to practice right now. Because you told me that you wanted to be this champion or you want to be on TV. Well, hundreds of dancers, thousands of dancers want to be on TV or world champion. So what sets you apart is by practicing. So I strongly suggest you go to practice right now. No, I don't want to do it. But you told me this is what you wanted to do. So if you don't want to do it, okay, you don't want to do it. But I just want to remind you of what you set out to do, and I'm here to support you. I do think you should practice though, but I leave the final decision up to you. But I've said what I needed to say. So this is a hypothetical little conversation I had with a dancer child or one of my dancers. So it's hypothetical, and sometimes I might be a little stronger, and other times I can feel there's real stress. Then sometimes it's good to back off, because the stress might have come from school, they might have felt bullied, but you don't know, right? So it's all a balancing act. The dancers overall right now, on a physical level, skill level, are 10 times better than my generation. And we, from my generation, we are all very active coaches right now, all my peers, and they are creating champions. But we need a new generation that wants to put in the work to go inside and start finding your own truth, develop your own passion with the help of your coaches. Now, also coaches in our industry, because that's the one I can talk about, the ballroom dance industry. So many couples, whether that's because of the parents or the new generation's way of thinking, if I go to 5 or more coaches, I get the best of all worlds and I'll be the best dancer I can be. And here I am telling you right now, that's the worst thing you can do. Because number one, you'll get confused. And if you have 5 coaches that are all completely different, you're going to look like a hot mess because you have no style. It's the same thing if you're trying to do 5 things at the same time. Nothing will happen at the highest level. And ultimately, you have to pick a direction, a style, and then develop that style into your own with the help of your coach. So here's the problem in the ballroom dance industry. Every couple goes to every single coach, and therefore everyone looks the same. I know many of you are not in the ballroom dance industry, so if I say Ruud Vermey, Espen Salberg, Peter Maxwell, Oliver Wessel-Terhorn, just to mention 4 coaches in the 90s, they couldn't be more different. And the couples they coached were all developed within their own style, but by that coach. So you get individuality, you get uniqueness. I remember in our final in the 90s, we had 6 couples that were so different. It was amazing for the audience. They didn't know where to look. It was so exciting because wherever they looked, it was different. It was harder for the judges though, because if you take a fruit bowl with 6 different fruits in it, which one is better than the other? So that was exciting. Those times were exciting. And now you look at the floor, the ballroom dance competitive floor. Everyone is fantastic. Everyone looks the same. The dances look the same. It's all about skill. It's all about winning. And it should be about expressing. Each couple should express what they believe, work on that craft, believe in that craft, stay in the lane of that craft, perfect that craft, express it, become it, experience all that work from the inside out. And then whatever comes out, that's being judged. And that's up to the judges. But if we go on the floor and think of, I need to win, I need to beat those people. If there's the final of 6 couples, you need to beat 5 couples. How are you going to do that? Not by thinking I have to beat them, or, I just have to be physically. If everyone does 2 spins, I have to do 3. If everyone bends backwards 45-degree angles, I have to do 90-degree angles. That's not how you win. That's the wrong lane, because it is not your lane. you have to find your lane, and you have to do it with your team. And when you find your lane with your team, you set yourself up with a very strong foundation, a solid house, and then you can start building the house. And then once the house is built, then you start looking at the interior design. Now you start looking at making it your own. Where do you want the light? How bright do you want the light? I know I'm going into interior design, but it's ultimately the same as building your choreographies. Create your costumes, your hair and makeup. How do you want to do that? Don't just smack a bottle of hairspray on your hair and think it's good enough. No, you got to think about it. How do you want it? Make it your own. It's exciting. Yes, so, summary, there are no shortcuts. And you might get a quick little career out of it. But if you want a long career, until you are 6 feet under, you want to develop every single part that comes part of dancing. Choreography, directing, acting, all of it. Different forms of dance. If you're a ballroom dancer, add other forms of dance. It has helped me. It has given me so much doing more than one dance form. If you're a really good, solid ballet dancer, add Broadway, add ballroom. Do something outside the box. I studied flamenco. I loved it. So study, study, study. And the journey should be as amazing as becoming a champion, or when you get the news that you made it to the top 10 on So You Think You Can Dance, or you just became a brand new pro dancer on Dancing with the Stars. The journey and the result should all be equally fun. Thank you.